Hey, what is going on, guys? In my last video, we talked about adding an amplifier to an AVR and the reasons why you might want to do that. So if you haven't checked out that video, I'll link it at the end of this video as well as in the card above. But in that video, we talked about the importance of adding an amplifier and why you might want to do that to your system. In this video, I want to take that a little bit step further because you don't necessarily have to amplify all of your channels. A lot of you guys asked the question on my channel, Michael, can I add an amplifier to just some of my speakers? So let me just kind of paint a picture. In my theater room, I've got 7 bed layer speakers. We've got a front left, a center channel, right channel, surround right, surround left, surround back right, surround back left. So that is my 7 bed layer speakers. And then overhead for my heights, I've got 2 front Atmos or height speakers, front left, front right, rear left, rear right. So in total, I have 11 speakers that I need to have amplification for. So of course you can have an AVR that handles all of that. So let's say you have maybe one of the older, well, let's just say you've got the Marantz Cinema 30. That will power all 11 of those speakers internally. So in my theater room right now, I'm testing out and playing with a Denon 4800H. So this is a 9.4 channel AVR. So it will handle and power 9 speakers. If you want to power 11, you're going to have to offload some of that, at least 2 channels to with a dedicated amplifier to power those other speakers to equal 11. But let's say, for instance, we use this Denon. We've got a 4800H is the model number. It can power 9, but I've got 11 speakers. So what are some options and how could I power that with external amplification as well as some of the internal amplification? Now, before I share with you some different scenarios of amplifiers, here's a word from our channel sponsor, Arendal Sound. You guys know I love big sound. Well, Arendal's 1528 series has taken big to a whole new level. The Tower 8 is an absolute beast, 53 inches tall, 174 pounds, and engineered to perfection with time-aligned curved baffle. But it's not just about size, it's about the massive soundstage and clarity that these speakers deliver. Trust me, once you hear the 1528 series, there's no going back. Check out the link down in the description below. So one scenario, and I always recommend this, if you can't power all of your speakers with an amplifier, you can definitely power some of them. So let's say, for instance, you have a 3-channel amplifier. Emotiva makes an XPA 3-channel amplifier. I believe it's about 200 watts a channel, maybe a little bit more, depending on your impedance of your speakers. So you could power your front left, your front right, and your center channel with the XPA 3-channel amplifier. And then you could power the side surrounds, your rear surrounds, and maybe those 4 height speakers with the internal amplification of the Denon 4800H. So in this theater room again, right now I'm testing out some amplifiers from OSD Audio. So I've got a 6-channel amplifier, I've got an 8-channel amplifier, and I also have a 4-channel amplifier. So in this setup right now, I'm coming out of the Denon with the pre-outs. So we're just using RCA pre-outs for every channel. So I'm using a 6-channel amplifier, but I'm bridging, I'm basically bridging each pair of channels. What I mean by that is, let's say, for instance, you've got 6 channels, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we take this channel and pair them together to pretty much almost double your amplification. Same thing here. We pair these 2 together, we double that amplification, pair these 2 together, double that. So I'm using that to power my left, my center, and my right. So I'm taking 6 channels, combining them into pairs to get more amplification out of the amplifier. So that amplifier, that is the OSD HTD, so like home theater digital, 6150 is the model number. And then I've also got the 8150, so it's pretty much the same amplifier, but instead of us having 6 channels, we have 8 channels. So with that one, I'm using that to power my 8 speakers, the 2 side surrounds, 2 back surrounds, and the 4 overhead speakers. So we got a 6-channel amplifier bridging each pair to power my left, center, and right, and then the 8-channel amplifier to power the 4 surrounds and the 4 heights. So that's offloading all of the amplification to external amplification. But like I said, we could do a 3-channel, or in this case, we could take that 6-channel and bridge those, powering 3 of those speakers. And then if I wanted to, I could take and power the surround back, surround sides, and the 4 overheads and power that internally with the Denon 4800. And so you really can get quite creative with your setup. Another question that came up on the last video in regards to what channels should I amplify if I don't have the ability to power all of them externally. And one of the gentlemen that asked the question, he thought it would be best for him to power the front, left, center, and right with the AVR, and then offload everything else to another amplifier, a dedicated amplifier. My recommendation would be the opposite of that. I want to put the best amplification on my front soundstage, because when you're watching a movie, your front soundstage is like everything. I mean, that's where the action's taking place. That's where your dialogue is taking place. That's where pretty much everything that you see on the screen is happening visually and audibly in front of you. Your side surrounds, your rear surrounds, your overheads, those are more ambient sounds, object cues. They're active, but there's not near as much information that come out of all of those as your front soundstage. And so my recommendation, if you're going to offload some of that amplification, start with your front soundstage. I even recommend, I would recommend a 3-channel over just a 2-channel. You could do a 2-channel for your front left and right speaker, and then power your center channel on your AVR and your surrounds and your height speakers in the AVR. But going back to the thought, those are your primary speakers. And in a movie, when you're watching a movie, the center channel handles a vast majority of everything. I mean, think about this. Everything that's said in a movie just about is going to come through that center channel. All the action, all the dialogue, anything that happens on the front center of that screen, which is the majority of the movie, is going to come through that center channel. So why not feed that with the most power that you can? And typically that's with an external amplifier. And I shared with you why that is in that previous video I mentioned. So my recommendation, if you're going to offload some of those, at least start with the front 3. Get a 3-channel amplifier. Even Buckeye, they don't necessarily, he doesn't make 3-channel amplifiers, but he makes 4-channel amplifiers. Now granted, you would not be using one of the channels, but in talking with Dylan, he said it's basically just cheaper for him to buy those modules in pairs. So that's why you'll see him either, apart from a monoblock, which is just a single channel amplifier, you'll see them in 2s, 4s, 6s, 8s, because that's just, like I said, it's more cost effective for you, the consumer, and for him to buy them in pairs than it is to do individuals. So even that, you would buy a 4-channel amplifier and just only use 3 of those channels. But that would be my recommendation. And so can you offload some of them and then power the rest with your AVR? Absolutely. And I think that's a great solution, because again, your front 3 speakers are demanding the most power from your AVR. So if you can alleviate that load from your AVR, the AVR, number one, it's gonna become more efficient. It's going to handle those other speakers much more ease than the front three speakers. And so that's just my thoughts. That's my perspective on it. You can get something very budget friendly. So I believe the 6-channel amplifier runs about, I think it's $800, and they even have a special on Amazon. You can click the little coupon button and save $100 off of it. Same thing with the 8-channel amplifier. I believe that one is right at about $1,000 for 8 channels. And you can click the button. It's either $100 off or maybe even $200 off. I can't remember, but I'll link to it down in the description and maybe show a screenshot right here. But you can save some money, and so that's a lot of amplification for not a lot of money. I use in my personal home theater, in my setup, it's a Monolith 11X. So that is a 11-channel amplifier. It's a beast, man. It's pretty close to 100 pounds, somewhere around there. And it is the front 3 channels get the most power. Again, kind of like what I was telling you. That's where you want the most power. So in my system, since my front 3 speakers are 4-ohm speakers, it's delivering 300 watts per speaker. If your speakers were 8-ohm speakers, then you would be giving it 200 watts for each of the front 3 speakers. And then for the surrounds, my rear surrounds and my height speakers are 8-ohm speakers, so the amplifier is sending 100 watts to each one of those. So I've got 300 by 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I've got 100 by 8 speakers in my theater room. So I use one amplifier to power everything, and then I have a separate processor, which is my Anthem AVM 70. So hopefully this video just kind of helps just share some possibilities, some different possibilities that you could do. You can run everything with your AVR. If your AVR isn't running out of gas and it's not sounding strained when you crank it up, depending on your volume and how many speakers you're running and how much wattage it's delivering to those speakers, it may be totally sufficient for your setup. If it isn't, then you just have to decide, am I going to offload everything with an amplifier, or am I going to split it up? You could do a couple of amplifiers. Like I've got one big amplifier, or you could do 2 multi-channel amplifiers. This one is a 6-channel and an 8-channel. You could offload just the front 3, let the AVR handle the rest. And so there's just a lot of flexibility. But again, going back to that previous video, the biggest thing is you just have to make sure that the AVR that you have has pre-outs for all those channels. Some of your less expensive AVRs, the ones around $500, $800, a lot of times those are not going to have pre-outs for all the channels. They'll have pre-outs for your subwoofers, but remember, your subwoofers don't need, they're powered internally anyway. So most subwoofers have an internal amplifier, like a plate amp built into the subwoofer. But for your speakers, if you're going to offload that, you're going to need an AVR that has pre-outs. So I just wanted to make a real simple video, just sharing that, kind of going a step further from the previous video. And again, if you haven't seen that preview or haven't seen the previous video, check it out right here. I think it's just, I do my best to make it as simple as I can. I don't want you guys to be watching any of my videos and going, man, I don't have a clue what Michael is talking about. I want to share videos that provide value to you, provide education to you, but share it in a way that's just kind of real simple. Some of you guys in the comments, you went way deeper than I did, talking about, well, if your speaker impedance is this and this, then it doesn't do it exactly the math that you were talking about. I get it, okay? I'm not the engineer. You're probably way smarter than I am. But I want to make it simple. I want everybody who watches this video, whether you're a novice, whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, whatever, you can watch this video and understand, oh, okay, I get it, at least the concept. So anyway, so hopefully that video helps. Let me know down in the description or down in the comments what you're running in your setup. Are you running amplifiers? Are you thinking about adding amplifiers? Are you running one big amplifier? Are you running multiple amplifiers? I'm just curious. I'd love to know. Well, I hope you guys have an incredible week. God bless, and we'll catch you in the next video.